All right, good morning. Good morning. What's going on, everybody? What is going on? Thank you very much for being here. I'm already prepped. It's like I had the engine going for the last 25 minutes. The engine was already going. So now I'm ready to go. Why? Because I had a member show this morning. We went for about 25 minutes. They basically did everything for me. I don't have to do anything today. Topics, members took care of it. Vision of potentially doing a live broadcast at Harris. What day to do it? Members took care of it. Sponsorship ideas, members took care of it. If you're not a member, I don't know what to tell you. You should consider being a member. All right, I appreciate everybody hanging out. Thank you for being here on this Thursday morning, January 8th, 8:01. Cheers to you. We got a packed show today. Not too much on the Lakers and the Spurs. I'll tell you that right now. Not too much on the Lakers and the Spurs. Just not a lot to talk about on the Lakers and the Spurs. I got a lot of other good topics, that I think are a lot more interesting. But Lakers and the Spurs, that game last night, very, very predictable L. I don't think anybody expected something different, especially when we found out LeBron wasn't going to play. But still a lot of good things going on around the league. And this is the time of the year where just start expecting a lot of this trade chatter and everything else, because that ain't going anywhere. That's going to be a big part of the next 30 days or so. So thank you very much for being here. Please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate everybody that did hang out in our member show earlier. We went live about 7:30 for about 25 minutes. So shout out to all the members. And if you're not a member, all good. I appreciate you being here. Let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show, and then we'll get the show started. Okay, first things first. I'll spend a little bit of time, the good and the bad, Lakers and the San Antonio Spurs yesterday. There's some angles here. We could talk a little bit about Luka. We could talk a little bit. I know I wrote a couple of things down here. Talk a little bit about Luka. I think I got a little bit of a bone to pick, and maybe I'm going too hard on DeAndre Ayton, but I didn't see Ayton again. And again, another moment where you're asking for Ayton to just give you a little bit of a motor. I didn't think that happened. We'll talk a little bit about DeAndre Ayton. Do you guys know the record of the Lakers with, or not even the record, how many games LeBron, Luka, and AR have played together so far this year? They've played 8. Can I play out a best-case scenario for the Lakers? Everybody's healthy. What does it look like? Do we know what it looks like if everybody's healthy? Now that LeBron's got his legs under him, he looks a lot better. He looks a lot fresher. We'll take a look at that for a quick second. Something that I did mention, and I think this is something that's going on around the league right now. Yesterday, Trae Young got traded. So what you got now is you got a lot of people that are coming out of you-know-what, making all these different trade scenarios. We're getting a little bit more details of what the cost is to go out there and get a 3-and-D player. I saw an article from ESPN this morning talking about Keon Ellis for the Lakers. The point that I'm trying to make is we're getting to the point of the year now. There's going to be a lot of trade chatter. And I think once we start getting a little bit more clarification of what it costs to get certain players, I think some things are just going to figure themselves out. Let's put it this way. After I saw what it costs to go try to get a Trey Murphy III or a Herb Jones versus what it costs to go get a Keon Ellis, I think you already kind of got your answer here of what the Lakers should do. We'll see what happens. I mean, obviously the price can come down, but we're getting a lot more clarity here about what the cost is. What are the Lakers' biggest needs at this point? I think that's an easy one. I was reading an article yesterday. I think it was Silver Screen and Roll that was breaking that down. And the Lakers will try to accomplish those needs over the next 30 days or so. I'll hit on Dalton Connect because he's part of the trade rumors, and somebody in the members video mentioned just how much or how disappointing. All right, turn that off here. How disappointing that is to see Dalton Connect on a night in, night out basis, just not being the player that we wanted him to be. We'll hit on that. The Thunder continue to struggle. What does that mean for the rest of the NBA that the Thunder continue to struggle? Does that open up more doors for other teams to say, we got to go all in right now? Do people believe in the struggle? So I think that's a conversation in itself. Again, that's another members topic. Sammy's going to join the show in about a half hour or so. Got some NBA news. We'll talk Trae Young and how little the Atlanta Hawks got for Trae Young, and then we'll call it a day. So actually to be honest, a very busy show today. I got a couple of calls, got a couple of meetings, and then we'll kind of pump through a day where the Lakers don't have a game to try to take advantage of that. All right, I appreciate everybody being here. Let's take a look at a couple of the comments before we get started, and go from there. Let's see what we have here. Lakers are missing 3 of their starters. Let's see. Last night, yes, 3 of their starters. Let's see what else we have here. All right. I don't know. So there's some comments. I have no idea what people are talking about. Hey, Slee, yesterday you said the Lakers aren't trading LaRavia. You've also said they're not trading Reeves. So who's left for an impact trade? Let's save this one. We'll come back to it. I'll star that one 100%. I will come back to that. So give me a second to come back to that. And I think it's a fair question. And I think what the Lakers are going to try to do will be very specific. Actually, one of the details in the trade, the Pels asking price, gives you a little bit of an idea of what they're trying to get rid of in order what to get. And it might not be very attractive for a lot of teams. So you might not be wrong in there. You might not be wrong about that. Dalton not engaged at all. When LaRavia taking your minutes and you're more talented, that's a problem. We'll talk definitely talk Dalton Connect a little bit. I don't know if Dalton Connect's not engaged. I just think that, to be honest with you, I think he's not ready for the moment. And that moment may never come as a Laker. All right, let's get the show started. Thank you again for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Let's get right into some of our topics here that we have. So Lakers lost to the Spurs yesterday. As predictable as it gets, once you knew LeBron wasn't going to play, even if LeBron played, somebody was asking me yesterday in the postgame, Al, why is LeBron not playing against the Spurs, but he's playing against the Pelicans? Honestly, I think there was some strategy to that. I think the Lakers probably thought to themselves, or LeBron did, let's go try to get the guaranteed W against the Pelicans, because even if LeBron plays against the Spurs, you're still not going to be a favorite to win that game. Spurs are good. Now, they didn't play good yesterday. Spurs looked completely different than the team that beat the Lakers in the quarterfinals at Crypto, but Spurs are a really good team. They were awful yesterday, but to answer your question, that's why I think LeBron didn't play. And he had said the day before when they played the Pelicans that when you're 41 years old and you got back-to-backs, every back-to-back is to be determined. And I'm not surprised LeBron didn't play. I'm disappointed because I would have just loved to see the Lakers have a legitimate shot at that game. You obviously want to see LeBron build the momentum that he has, but I'm not somebody who's played 23 years in the league. If LeBron's going to take days off, then he should take days off, and there's a reason for it. That's the last person I'm going to question when it's time to take a day off. With that in mind, let me kind of walk through with you some of the things I liked against the Spurs, most of the things I didn't like against the Spurs. I thought the team played hard. And I think I was mentioning this in the postgame. I'm sorry, in the pregame, before the game. I was mentioning it yesterday in the morning that this was before I knew or anybody knew that LeBron wasn't going to be playing. One of the conversations that we had was you just want to see them play tough for 48 minutes. I thought the Lakers basically did that. I don't think anybody walked away from yesterday's game. Lakers hung around for about 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, San Antonio started to pull away a little bit. I think the start of the fourth quarter, Lakers were down double digits, and then San Antonio kind of built a little bit of a lead from there. But that part was fine. I don't think there was ever a lack of effort. I don't think there was never a lack of want. And you know how you could tell this? I listened to Luka right after the game, listened to a little bit of JJ as well. And you can tell a vibe of a team when they're disappointed in how the team played, performed, how hard they played. I don't think that was the Lakers yesterday. So if there's a takeaway that I can take, I would just tell you that I thought the Lakers gave the proper effort. They just didn't have the talent, and that's it. And we could kind of leave it there. I thought Luka was really, really good yesterday. His 38, 10, and 10. Somebody, when I was doing the show this morning, mentioned in the chat, the Lakers are basically where they are because of Luka. I don't disagree with that. And it's interesting sometimes when I look at some of the comments or I look at some of the chat, I think there's a decent amount of Luka slander. There is. And I think people like to point out more of his deficiencies, what he doesn't bring to the table, his turnovers, not being a good defender. There's some things you could point out. I'm not telling you that, obviously there aren't things that you can't point out. But Luka's unbelievable. And I was mentioning this in the post-game show yesterday. I'll mention it again this morning. When the Lakers actually put together a team around Luka, and it will happen, Luka's going to have a squad around him, and it might take a year. It might take a little bit more. Maybe it takes a little bit less. Luka's going to have a squad around him that makes sense. I do feel like new ownership will provide him what he needs, and there's a little bit of common sense to where the Lakers build from here. And, of course, everything's going to be around Luka. Luka's only going to get better for the Lakers. He's only going to be more effective. He's only going to look better for the Lakers. He's only going to kind of give you some real hope of what the future can look like for the Lakers. They are where they are because of Luka. His stats, what he's doing on a night in, night out basis. I thought yesterday was a great example of it. Luka, in many of these games, he's just kind of single-handedly carrying the Lakers. Go look at some of the different players, his options to who to throw the ball to. His options are Dalton Connect. His options are Jared Vanderbilt, Marcus Smart. A lot of these guys you can't really depend on. A lot of these guys that are not, snipers or outside shooters. But eventually that's going to get itself figured out. But I thought Luka was really good yesterday. I thought Jake LaRavia, granted, most of it was kind of in the fourth quarter when the game was already decided. I thought he did his job. I thought Jackson Hayes did his job. I think there's a few players out there. You can put Vando potentially on that list as somebody that did his job. And then there's kind of, the players out there. If Lakers were going to win yesterday, they needed a perfect game from everybody. But what they really needed was a monster game from Ayton. And Ayton, once again, told you, yeah, I don't provide that for you. So I think part of my takeaways from yesterday's game is it wasn't a motor question. It wasn't an energy question. It wasn't do the guys care question. It was you don't have enough talent. But some of the players that they do have, and I'll ask this question to people. I don't think I'm being too critical on DeAndre Ayton, but I find myself bringing up Ayton's name a lot in these last couple of weeks. And I'm bringing him up for the wrong reasons. I mean, I gave him credit after the Pelicans game, right? I try to give credit where credit's due. And I said, that's all Laker fans want from DeAndre Ayton. Just that. Just, play hard, play tough, do everything you can for a 48-minute span and be active, be as interested on the defensive side as you are on the offensive end. Am I being too critical on DeAndre Ayton, or do a lot of people agree with me on this? This man is wildly up and down. And maybe, my expectations. Here's the one thing I will say about Ayton that I think there's a reason why I have some disappointment in his ups and downs. I know how Ayton left Portland. I know that the Suns traded him. I get all that. But how many different times were we talking about coming into this season? And again, if Ayton had a monster game, it doesn't mean the Lakers beat the San Antonio Spurs last night. That's not what I'm referring to. But what I'm referring to more than anything else is I just want Ayton to do his job on a night in, night out basis. I think for me with Ayton, the thing that stands out most is coming into this season, it was like, hey, this guy's playing for his career. He's playing for another contract. He's only 26 years old. He got, he was the overall number one pick. And this guy is basically playing to prove to the rest of the NBA that he deserves another contract. Our team's going to be lining up for Ayton based on what you've seen in these first 35 plus games this year. He's serviceable. That's it. And I thought last night, again, was a good example of LeBron's out, Rui's out, Reeves is out. They need a big Ayton game. And Ayton, once again, tells you, yeah, if you're going to depend on me, I don't know how much I can give you. So those are some of my takeaways from last night's game. I don't really have too much that I want to go in depth with about the game because I just don't think there's enough to walk away from last night's game where, obviously the conversation that we're having is I don't think there's that much depth to last night's game. I think it's an L. You take it. You're not that disappointed about it. You move on. Lakers still looking great from a standings perspective. It's another loss to a really good team. And they were going to have to play perfect basketball last night, and that didn't happen. Let me take a look at a couple of the comments here, and then we'll start getting into some of these other topics that are a little bit more trade related and bigger picture related. All right. Let me see what we got here. All right, let's keep going here. I'm going to kind of come down so we could. Last dominant center was Dwight. Been a minute since the league had a dog at the 5 outside of Jokic. Yeah, my problem is I think you don't need a Hall of Famer. You definitely don't need a Hall of Famer. You just need somebody to do his job. And the thing that hurts me with Ayton is I think he's got so much more than he gives you every single night. That's my problem. If I know what I'm going to get from Jackson Hayes, and I'm not asking Jackson Hayes to give 18 and 12 a night because I don't think Jackson Hayes has it in him. The problem with Ayton is I think Ayton's got the skill set for 18 and 9 a night. I think he's 15 and 8 now are his averages, but a lot of times I just don't think you feel it. Ayton is good at his price, just not a perfect fit. He's the 4th option. Yeah, he's the 4th option. I think if you told me Luka, AR, and Bron and Rui played yesterday, then that's a different story. But when three of your starters are missing, that's when you just naturally expect somebody to come up. That's when you naturally expect somebody to play really well. And that's I guess the point that I'm referring to more. I'm going to give Ayton a lot less criticism if everybody's playing. But if a lot of these guys are not playing, then that's when you're asking him to step up his game because that's when they need it the most. Okay, let's get another one here. If you're saying not enough talent to win a series, I agree with that. But saying not enough talent to win one game, I have to disagree. Last night, they could play that game 10 times in a row with the same exact people, and they'll lose 10 straight games. So I think it doesn't matter if you're trying to win a series or you're trying to win one game. Yes, if Lakers played a perfect game, could they have won yesterday and San Antonio was completely awful, which they were completely awful? Guys, they shot 16% from the 3-point line. I think they were 4 of 29 from 3, something 4 of 25 from the 3-point line. They were awful yesterday. San Antonio wasn't good at all. Lakers still lost by double digits. So I don't know how much it is about that. I think it's more about from my perspective, it's more the fact that they just weren't going to win that game. I mean, and you could play that game 10 more times. I still don't think they're going to win that game. All right, let's take a look. Let me see if I could find one more here. Okay, let's keep moving here. I want to keep moving because there's a number of topics that I want to continue to get into, and I want to talk more about this trade stuff that I was referring to. So we're going to do that in just a second. Bron, Luka, and AR. Do you guys know that these guys have only played 8 games so far this year together? It was mentioned in the broadcast last night. I actually listened to the ESPN broadcast yesterday. Typically, I'm only listening to Spectrum, but sometimes you kind of want a little bit of a different perspective. And was listening to the ESPN crew. They played in 8 games together this season. Can I lay out a best case scenario and then you guys can tell me, what this could look like? It's kind of funny. I don't think the Lakers are an awful team. I think they got some glaring holes, but I don't think they're an awful team. LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves have only played in 8 games together. I think their full lineup, if I'm correct here, no injuries, has played in 3 games so far this year. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the NBA, and a lot of teams are going to have players missing. Let's just pretend everybody's healthy. Let's pretend Lakers got all their guys. Best case scenario is they can get into a dogfight series against Houston or San Antonio in the second round, or maybe it's going to have to be in the first round. We'll see what happens just because what the standings are look like. And really, you got the top 7 teams are only separated by a few games. I mean, Minnesota's making a case. Phoenix continues to make a case. Those are your top 7 right there. Best case scenario with all these guys playing together is you're in a complete dogfight and you hope obviously everything goes your way and you got your guys that are healthy, which I think is going to lead me more and more to it's impossible that this team doesn't do anything at the trade deadline. And listen, I'm not telling you they got to go make the biggest trade in the world, but they got to do something. I think that's kind of the purpose and the point of the conversation. But up to this point, we're closing in on halfway of the season, and we're going to get well past halfway of the season before Austin Reeves eventually comes back. But the big three have only played in 8 games together this season. It's impossible for them to gain continuity. It's impossible to kind of see what the ceiling is for this team. But when I heard them say that in the broadcast yesterday, that just kind of that really threw me off for a quick second there. I wasn't expecting that, but that's how little they've played together. And I think that's how many questions we still have as far as what the ceiling is for this Lakers team. But I will tell you, there are some glaring things we already know. Whether Austin Reeves is playing or not, whether LeBron's playing or not, whether Luka's playing or not, we know that they got a lot of defensive deficiencies. So we'll obviously see what happens in the next 30 days. But I don't know why that stat just kind of slapped me across the face when I saw it. Was not something that I was depending on when I initially saw it. But it makes all the sense in the world now, just based off of how many games we've seen these guys play together so far. I want to start talking about some of the rumors and the trades. Before I do so, a quick shout out, Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Serious injury, wrongful death case. You or a family member are in a position, a friend is in a position, just guide them towards Brad Wallace. See if he can help. Start with Brad and then take it from there. If Brad Wallace can help you guys, awesome. If he can't, no skin off your back. They give free consultations. You don't have to pay anything. They got a great motto, no win, no fee. Basically, that they'll represent you, and it will come down to whether they were able to represent you and your case won or it didn't win. He can help anybody in the state of California. I've mentioned this before. I've known him for about 6 years. wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. And appreciate all our partners on the channel. And I appreciate the listeners supporting our partners. Okay, so this is what happened yesterday. Laker game is going on. And I'm doing some research and I'm saying, okay, what do I want to talk about in the morning? And then the trade goes down with Trae Young. Or right around that time, the trade goes down with Trae Young. And I'm like, damn, all right, well, NBA trade deadline, we're here. Trae Young got traded. Okay, that's pretty big news that Trae Young got traded. Now, what he got traded for was a bag of peanuts, if you ask me, but that's okay. There's some reasons of why that happened. Both franchises are kind of going in different directions. They're figuring it out. We'll talk about Trae Young in a little bit. But what it did for me, it was like, well, the trades have started. And we've seen this in the past where a lot of trades don't go down until, and it's probably going to be the case again this year. Most of the trades don't typically start, or not they don't start. I mean, Lakers made a trade last year. It was still in December, the end of December, when they traded for Dorian Finney-Smith. So trades go down well before the final week of the trade deadline. And this year, the trade deadline's on February 6th, February 5th, I think we said earlier in the week. February 5th, I think it is. It's on a Monday. So obviously, trades do happen before you get to that final week. Well, it started yesterday in the NBA. So then you kind of start looking, all these articles now start. I saw an article from Silver Screen and Roll. What's the Lakers' biggest need at the trade deadline? Then you start looking at what the cost is for some of these players, which I'm going to get into a second, what the Pelicans cost, what the cost is from the Pelicans to go get a couple of their 3-and-D players. The articles are starting. And I know they were there before, but just expect now how active they're going to be. You got a lot of insiders are going to be writing a lot of articles. The Mark Steins of the world, Sam Amick, all these different people that this is their job on a day-to-day basis is, I heard from this front office executive and this and that. What are the Lakers' needs? I think we all know the Lakers' needs. And they're going to try to accomplish both of these in one trade. Whether it's possible or realistic, we'll have to wait and see. They need a player that plays defense, and they need a player that hits threes. You don't need to go get 2 players. You can go get what's determined in the NBA, a 3-and-D player. Okay. All right. I think we all know exactly what the Lakers need. And again, how realistic that's going to be based off of what the Lakers have and the assets that they have, we'll have to wait and obviously find out over the course of the next little bit less than 4 weeks. But what I can tell you is this. It's glaring what they need. Of course, it's going to cost them to go get it. And the other part that's going to be a little bit, tough for the Lakers is they only have so many assets to work with. Let me read this report this is from Brett Siegel of Clutch Points. Okay. The Pelicans are reportedly seeking at least 2 unprotected first-round picks in a potential Herb Jones trade, a price the Los Angeles Lakers will be unable to match ahead of the February 5th trade deadline. Okay? So Brett Siegel is saying, you want one of these players from the Pelicans. I'll read the exact quote. The Pelicans have made it clear to teams around the league that both young talents, Herb Jones and Trey Murphy III, who absolutely balled out against the Lakers earlier this week. What was that, on Tuesday night? He dropped 40-plus points against the Lakers. Will come at a high asking price, starting at a minimum of 2 unprotected first-round picks. League sources said. That's what Brett Siegel wrote. There is a growing belief that Jones and Murphy will remain in New Orleans this season. Okay. There's some clarity for the Lakers. Here's why there's some clarity for the Lakers. If the asking price is 2 unprotected first-round picks for Herb Jones or Trey Murphy III, well, the Lakers are already out of the running because they only have 1 tradable first-round pick that they can use before the NBA trade deadline. Now, come the offseason, Lakers got a lot more flexibility. But sometimes there's a little bit of clarity. Let me give you guys an example. Let's say you're looking to buy a home. And you're like, hey, my budget for a home is $500,000. And then you find a home that you absolutely love, and you get ready to go put an offer on it, and there's 10 other offers, and the price now, you got an offer that's up there for $600,000. You're like, okay, well, we just answered my question. We can't get qualified for $600,000. We, with interest rates, and there's an HOA fee, we literally can't afford it anyways. It kind of took care of it. The headache got taken care of for you. Now, maybe as that person who qualified for this, or that put the offer in for the $600,000, maybe as you get closer to closing, maybe they're having some loan issues. Maybe it doesn't happen, and maybe that house becomes available and you could still get it at $500, or you got it at $525. This kind of reminds me with the Lakers right now. If the asking price today is 2 unprotected first rounders for Herb Jones or Trey Murphy III, which both players would fill a very important need for the Lakers. You'd get your 3-and-D player. You'd get a player that can hit threes. You get a player that can play defense. If that's the asking price for those 2 players, then at least today, on January 8th, then it's kind of nothing, that you don't have anything to worry about in regards to those 2 players. Is it going to be the same asking price by the time we get to February 1st? Or has that price come down? Is it now a first rounder and a couple second rounders? I don't have the answer for you, but what I'm trying to play out for you is, if today that's the asking price, then you've already kind of got your question answered in regards to the Pelicans. Now, the Pelicans are also going to try to get as much value as they possibly can. If I'm another team out there and I'm on the brink here, I got a real chance of competing in the in the West or in the Eastern Conference. I think there's a lot of value to Herb Jones and Trey Murphy III. Lakers don't have 2 first rounders. So you kind of just answered your own question there. Okay, let me kind of keep going here, because there's another article out here that I think might make things a little bit more realistic for the Lakers. And I don't hate this one at all either. And this will come back to a couple other questions people had about Dalton Connect and Jake LaRavia. ESPN put out an article this morning, NBA trade deadline. 6 offers that reshape the playoff chase. They got some teams on there that I don't need to get into. They got one for the Lakers. They got Keon Ellis from the Sacramento Kings is on that list. Here's what the Lakers would give up. This is just the proposed trade from ESPN. The Lakers get Keon Ellis. The Sacramento Kings get Dalton Connect and a 2032 second-round pick. That sounds like that, hey, we couldn't get that home that was $600,000, but we got a home for $450,000. It's actually under our budget that we have set aside to go buy a home. We're going to need to put in a little work. Maybe this isn't our forever home, but this is what we need right now, and you could pull the trigger on something like that. I don't know if the Kings are going to do a deal for the Lakers. I don't know. I don't know if they value a guy like Dalton Connect. I think it would be interesting for them because of how young he is and the potential that he has. I would think Keon Ellis is worth a little bit more. Now, if I'm right, I think Keon Ellis is on an expiring contract, so something to keep in mind in regards to that. But I guess, part of the article talks about how Doug Christie and the Sacramento Kings, they're just not using Keon Ellis, that there's really no kind of need for Keon Ellis right now with the Sacramento Kings, and they're going to try to get as much value as they can for him. And maybe that's where the Lakers come into play. Again, I don't know if Sacramento wants to do a deal with the Lakers. This isn't a blockbuster move. It's not like they're moving DeMontis Sabonis or something like that. So I don't think they got to worry about it from that perspective. But Keon Ellis would help the Lakers. And if I got to be honest with you, based on how this season has gone so far, based on how many kind of holes that you do have, based on $52 million coming off the books and a lot of expiring contracts at the end of this season, this might be the smarter deal for the Lakers in the short term, and then also kind of allows them to do what they need to do in the summer, where I would imagine that's when those big splashes kind of start, is in the summer. So that gives everyone just kind of a quick idea of all the different chatter and the trade conversation that's going on there. It's here. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. Expect the trade chatter to continue here over the next 30 days or less than 30 days. I'll probably be jumping on a lot of that stuff as well, because the Lakers are clearly a franchise and a team that needs to improve the roster. But now you have an idea what the Pelicans asking price is, and you have an idea of what Keon Ellis would potentially cost in the market. So hopefully that gives everybody just kind of a quick idea of what some of the chatter is around the league, and we could take it from there. Okay. I did mention this, and I'm going to get into some of the comments. I'll do it with Sammy, but I mentioned Sammy's going to be joining the show. So let me get Sammy in here. Sammy, good morning, sir.
Sliwa, what's up, dude?
What's up, brother? How are you doing?
Doing good, man. We could have used you last night with the Vando and, them getting into it post-game, a little eye poke.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I don't know if I've seen a kind of a finger across the cheek, a finger jab across the cheek. I don't know if I've seen that one before.
Yeah, especially, in boxing, they got the gloves that come all the way around, but a little UFC eye poke. That was interesting last night.
I kind of got the lower cheek. He went for the lower cheek.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know what that was supposed to do. But hey, Vando was one of the few guys giving energy last night, so I'm not going to sit here and destroy Vando.
I'll tell you who wasn't going to do that. Ayton wasn't going to do that.
No.
Ayton's not doing. Ayton was probably already taking a shower by the time that was going down. Ayton was already booking his next reservation for dinner.
Oh yeah, they got a flight they got to catch. I'm tired of doing post-game interviews, especially. The good thing with Ayton, though, is when you only hit 4 shots and only take 9, you're not really asked to do too many post-game interviews. So you can get showered, get on the bus fast, get on it back to Los Angeles.
You're getting me frustrated about Ayton. I don't want to get any more frustrated. I'm already frustrated, and I don't want to get any more frustrated. Okay, let's stay with the topic here real quick. I'm going to leave yesterday's game alone. I'm not too concerned about yesterday's game, but I don't know when you logged in, but I was talking about Herb Jones, Trey Murphy III costing you 2 first-rounders. Mm-hmm. By the way, you also got to make salaries match and everything else. So obviously what the Lakers would have to be creative there. And then there's a proposed trade by ESPN this morning that Keon Ellis could potentially just cost you a second-rounder in Dalton Connect. When I kind of break down, when you hear what the asking price is, when you're trying to think of the Lakers, not just in the short term, but the long term, what they could potentially do in the summer, doesn't it just sound, first off, they don't have 2 second-rounders that they can give, or 2 first-rounders that they can give to the Pelicans. They only have 1 first-rounder. But is it just me, or does it sound like the market will kind of take care of itself for the Lakers because they only have so much of a budget, and one sounds much more reasonable than the other from a trade perspective?
Totally. And Keon Ellis, I heard you mention it. I know his minutes from the Kings last year dropped from 24 to 25 per game down to like 18 and 19 per game. So they're kind of putting him on ice, knowing that 3-and-D guys are going to be in high demand by the trade deadline.
He's underrated too. He's underrated.
He's underrated. If he played in a different market other than Sacramento, he'd get a lot more love. A second-round pick in Dalton Connect, and I'm not trying to just come on here and bash someone, but it is disappointing. It's hard to watch when last night, and I'm with you. I'm not going to bash the Lakers for last night. I give them some credit in that they fought. They obviously didn't have 3 starters in the starting lineup, but that should have been Connect's night. Like that, Connect had every opportunity. I don't know how many times Luka hit him in the corner to be hitting threes, and they were just clanking off the back iron. That felt like a Dalton Connect game, a kind of a showcase game, and he just did not come through.
Can I say this on the Connect thing? But did you actually expect that? Because for me, anything he does now is it's a surprise or a shock rather than that's what he's supposed to be doing.
I'm with you on that. Like it feels like, some people in the comments are saying it, his confidence is just gone. It's a shame that a year ago today we were talking about a guy who was like supposed to be one of the best rookies and a catalyst for the Lakers moving forward. And then obviously everything changed with Luka coming and then the trading him, but the deal getting rescinded. And it's just a shame that he doesn't even, I think, have trade value. But back to your original question, if you could get Keon Ellis, a 3-and-D player who's young, who could only also help this year, but also you could sign and help in the future for Connect in a second-round pick, meanwhile keeping all your first-round trade chips and pick swaps, I think that would be a home run deal for Rob Pelinka if they do it.
Yeah, and I think this is what I'll go back to, and maybe that price comes down. If you ask me, hey, which player would you rather have for the next couple of years? Would you rather have Herb Jones or would you rather have Keon Ellis? I'd rather have Herb Jones. Which player would you rather have, Trey Murphy III, or would you rather have Keon Ellis? I like the players from the Pelicans. I just don't think I can get them. And I think it might help the Lakers almost in a sense that I'd rather walk into this summer. Somebody had a comment here. Let me see if I start it. Spurs are a better team. This is why it's very important to keep your draft picks. Lakers give them away like candy during Halloween. And by the way, you don't usually get these types of comments from a fan because a fan is saying to themselves, right, just how can you improve the roster today? And it's the front office's job, obviously, to improve the roster long term. But if they can walk into this summer, I'm not trying to throw away this season. Be competitive, see what you can do in the trade market. If you can address the lack of three-point shooting and you could address a little bit of defense, you obviously need that. But they can walk into this summer with literally a blank slate. I mean, it's a blank canvas, and how do you want to draw it? And I think that's where they need to eventually be in order to build the right team around Luka. I think I believe as well they'll have multiple first rounders by the time you get to the summer. And I'm not telling you to go trade them, but what I'm telling you is just at least give yourself this flexibility and this opportunity to say, I have Luka, I'm probably going to have AR, and then everything else after that is open for discussion. And even if you sign AR, okay, well, what does that mean? Does that mean Austin Reeves, you give him an opportunity to see what it looks like with Luka? You could change your mind in a year. You have Austin Reeves under contract. You'll have him under contract for multiple years. I do think if you're going to truly compete for a championship with Luka, every small move is just as important as every big move.
Well, and to your point, like ever since the AD trade, the Lakers have felt hamstrung at the deadline, hamstrung in the offseason. Now, we all know about the amazing trade that probably shouldn't have happened between Nico Harrison and the Lakers. The fact that they were able to get Luka and not take all the picks is pretty astounding. It's a shot at Dallas, the fact that the Lakers even have picks to trade at this deadline. They shouldn't have any of it, but luckily Pelinka was able to negotiate the deal where he did. I'm with you on that. It feels like the plan with them not offering LeBron an extension was we're going to free up a max level salary. We're going to reevaluate this whole team. We know Luka's here for the long term. And then we're going to have all these picks at our disposal, pick swaps to really go make a deal happen. But the Lakers being a lot better, I think, than people thought this year in terms of the standings, people are reevaluating, like, do you want to throw away this year? And I don't think it's throwing away the year right now. Do I think that they're going to the championship? No. Do I think that there's multiple teams in the Western Conference better than them? They've seen that when they played the upper tier competition in the West and the East. But to your point, if there's a small deal, a Keon Ellis type deal, a second round pick and connect that helps you for now in the future, that's great. But selling the farm and everything to get Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, and then we're sitting here a year from now going, damn, there's a star that came available, or there's some guys that came available, and then you're back in the same spot that you've been in the last decade with AD.
Chasing your tail the entire time. And listen, there are there are teams out there. I mean, I think the Rockets, you got to kind of be all in. I think there's certain teams where it's like, you're all in, and this is your window is truly 2 years. Luka's 26 and properly build so that we're talking about Luka competing for a championship when he's 28 to 32. Like isn't that the goal? Isn't the goal that you're just consistently in the mix every single year rather than, you're trying to hit a grand slam and there's only 2 guys on?
Well, it's to that point, that's the thing that the Lakers have. And it's true. It's not fun. It's not a sexy sell to the fan base going, hey, we're going to keep this team that doesn't really play defense and we're going to go try it. But I think in the summer, I think a year from now, if the Lakers hold everything, the Lakers could be in a much better spot. They're almost there to really having real flexibility. It'd be a shame for them to just give it away because they got rushed at the deadline into making a pressurized deal.
Yeah, that's, by the way, I'm curious to see how new ownership kind of impacts that. Maybe the previous regime, and I know Jeannie Buss is still the governor of the Lakers, but I still find it difficult to not think that new ownership is going to have a say in everything that happens. Yeah. I mean, I get what it says on paper. I get she's going to be there for 5 years and everything else, but I would imagine that somebody who just bought a team for $10 billion is going to have his fingerprints somewhere on this team. But I would imagine that, there's going to be more of a big picture than small picture. And obviously we'll see what happens with that. You mentioned the Thunder. I did a member show this morning and did the whole member show, by the way, with my shirt off. I do that for members. It's just, it's only for members.
It attracts more viewers because it's like the Slee in the gym. It needs his own vlog.
Now, I mean, listen, if you're paying $2.99 a month, I take the shirt off for members. I take the shirt off. I would lose every member. There would be no members left.
Only Slee. That's going to be your thing going forward.
So I'm doing the show this morning, and somebody mentioned I think is interesting. OKC struggles. You mentioned Oklahoma City for a quick second there. They're 7-6 in their last 13 games. They needed some, miracle stuff from Shai Gilgeous to get to overtime and then eventually beat the Jazz yesterday. They could easily be under 500 over their last 12, 13 games. Is their struggles, you think, going to make more teams in the West say, holy shit, you know what? No, it's not. A month ago when everybody was talking about everybody's basically playing for second, that it's going to take an injury from the Thunder in order to come out of the Western Conference. Just using as an example, obviously you're not hoping there's any injuries, but it was going to take something miraculous. Do you think teams right now in the West and even the East, because of what the Thunder have done over these last 13 games, are saying to themselves, we got to be more aggressive at the deadline rather than pumping our brakes?
I think so. Now, as people are saying in the chat, like OKC is just bored, they'll be fine. I think Oklahoma City obviously should still be the favorite. I think when you're going through a long season and you're the best team. I mean, hell, in Vegas right now, it's insane. They're plus 115. So they're almost even money on a pick'em game to win the NBA championship in January. That's a crate that doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen in sports usually. But I think to your point, we're not overrating Oklahoma City. But when they got off to this super hot start and all of a sudden they're chasing a record, we also forget that they did get taken in 2 Game 7s in the playoffs last year. Now, sure. I know they blew out Denver in the game, so I give them credit. And then obviously we know in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, Tyrese Halliburton has 12 points and blows his Achilles out 4 minutes in the game. Who knows if that makes a change? Maybe Oklahoma City still wins. They were the favorite. But they also didn't have a Kobe and Shaq run where they went 16-1. And
sure.
Iverson was the only guy who beat them, where you're like, okay, let's just say they're a little bit worse in a couple games. This team isn't invincible. And I think you look around, you mentioned the Rockets certainly have a case to be up there. You got the Nuggets when they get Jokic back. And I do think people will become more aggressive. I was kind of curious. I don't know how you feel about this. Now, we know Trae Young got traded yesterday, but with Giannis potentially available, AD, obviously not coming to Lakers, but AD potentially available, some of these big name stars available, you feel like some of these teams could be going star hunting, which could, for being positive, could work out for the Lakers, that the Keon Ellis kind of gets forgot about. A guy like a Keon Ellis versus where then everyone looks at Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, and then some lower tier 3 and D guys while everyone's holding their draft picks, trying to get Anthony Davis, Giannis, all these guys could fall into the Lakers' lap. Who knows? But if we're looking positively, hopefully that's the case.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think I get that the Thunder are still really good and will be the favorites. 7-6 over a 13-game stretch, getting handled by the San Antonio Spurs, one of your Western Conference, counterparts that you can face in the playoffs, I think means something. Losing to Minnesota, I think means something. Maybe not as much to Minnesota, but I don't think this is, well, they're just on a bad streak, and it doesn't mean that they're not going to turn things around. But if I'm a team in the West that thought everything's running, if I'm a top 5 team in the Western Conference and I thought everything's running through the Thunder, why am I wasting my time? I'm now thinking that I'm thinking twice about that. And I think what you mentioned about the playoffs, you are right. They didn't just mow through everybody. They did beat Denver in 7. Denver's a lot better, I think, with this roster than they were in their playoff run last year. Tyrese Halliburton doesn't get injured in game 7. You don't know what could happen, but we could be talking about the Thunder losing in the finals. So I think it's going to be interesting, but I think that conversation about the Thunder, we'll see how things happen. Nobody's saying that they're completely collapsing. It's just that they don't look as good as you thought they were going to look.
I don't know how you feel, but it is. And again, I want to give due respect to Oklahoma City, because you look at the roster, they have all these young picks. They have guys coming up through the pipeline that aren't even just in the big 3 that are great. But you sit there with Oklahoma City and go, like, where we've always tried to crown a next Warriors, a next dynasty. It was supposed to be Denver when they won it in 2020. That didn't really work out. Yep. Then it was Boston. Boston was going to be the next dynasty. That didn't work out. Now, Oklahoma City, again, has all the young talent. They have everything. So I'm not saying the downfall's coming because they go 7-6 over the last 13 games. A lot of teams would take that, especially with their record heading into that. But this whole just Oklahoma City is going to win the next 5 championships and it's not even really close, I think is a little bit overestimated, because we're coming off the Golden State run where they were so dominant and it really did feel like no one could get after them.
Yeah, I think with the Thunder, that's interesting. I think with the Thunder, the reason why it feels like if there is a dynasty to be had, they're just all so young and they have so many players that they're not even using, and they have so many picks that they're not even using. I think the Thunder are unique from that perspective. I mean, we're looking at earlier that they got the Clippers pick, and I know Clippers are playing a little bit better, but they also just have so much. This is an interesting comment here. Basically taking if you're trying to make a baseball comparison, Keon Ellis is an analytics darling. I agree with him. And by the way, we spend so much time talking about these big time names and players like that. Let me give you a name that I wish the Lakers had right now that they had for a quick second last year. And I think goes back into kind of this analytics, and it doesn't cost you much and you take full advantage of it. Let me use Jordan Goodwin as an example. Exactly what the Lakers need today, they had.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling you Goodwin, if they have him, their Lakers are getting to the Western Conference Finals and it's them and OKC. But it's those little moves and those types of players. I thought Jake LaRavia was a good signing, so I won't take that away from them. But I think this is interesting because I think as much as people want to look at the big time names, there's also a lot of names that can go under the radar that could be the difference of your team. I mean, you look back at some of the Lakers championships that they've had in the past, or some of the different players that were on the roster. You need, I don't know, KCPs and Avery Bradley. I don't know if that's a good example or not. Or if you go back a little bit further, Bruce Brown, Trevor Ariza, like there are players that could be the difference of you making a championship run or not. And I think Keon Ellis kind of fits a little bit into that mold.
To your point about Goodwin, it does hurt when you see him in Phoenix. He's averaging, I believe, 9 points per game. Like, well, I watched the game last night, and outside of Luka, LaRavia, and Hayes,
and he plays defense,
and he costs nothing. So it's like it does feel like the Lakers. Now, again, you can get into the whole AD trade. Obviously, the Lakers got a chip, so I'm not going to sit here and have revisionist history talking about how oh, they shouldn't have made the deal, because everyone can say that. But it is funny how, like, you see the Lakers' former players like Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, Josh Hart, like all these guys are having success elsewhere. And it's not, I mean, KCP, like, and again, I get it's a fluid situation. If they don't make the deal for AD, maybe they never get the ring. So you can't sit here and be like they shouldn't have done it. It's just the Lakers do develop talent sometimes, and it feels like they just let them walk out the building for the bigger name, because Jordan Goodwin's not a name. Unless you're watching every Laker game, most casual NBA fans don't know who Jordan Goodwin is. But when you watch Jordan Goodwin, I mean, I remember last year you were doing the post game, like, why is this guy getting time? Like, every time he comes in
the playoffs,
like, but the name Jordan Goodwin doesn't resonate. Whereas a lot of guys who have bigger names keep getting opportunities. So it does frustrate that the Lakers kind of let go of some talent they should probably keep.
Well, and I think, we'll find out if ownership changes that, new ownership changes that. You have to crop your own players. I'm not saying that the Lakers haven't. Obviously, Austin Reeves has come through the Lakers system. They're players that have developed and certainly have come through the Lakers. You want to call it the farm system, but you got to crop your own guys as well. And you got to, I think, watching around the NBA, go look at teams like the Pistons, go look at teams like the Boston Celtics. I'm like, who are these players? And there's a system that they've kind of built there. And whoever you plug and play, you can get the most out of some of these guys. And I think there's certain franchises that are doing it. If you're going to be successful in the NBA, you got to have a little bit of balance of that as well. OKC will steamroll all after the All-Star break. Could happen. Definitely could happen. I wouldn't be shocked if it does, but I do think it's been interesting what's happened over this last couple of weeks or so. All right. As we kind of sit here and, look at, I know we're kind of looking at some of the different players and trades and everything else. What'd you make of the Trae Young trade last night? Goes to the Wizards. I was joking around this morning. So yesterday I'm doing the post-game show. And while I'm doing the post-game show, I'm like, that's all they got. That's it. And then I see an article this morning from the Athletic, and this is literally the title. That's all the Hawks got for Trey? ? What do you make of that trade?
I was surprised at it too. I was like, McCollum, who's a great player, but
he's 35.
He's 35. Like, I get it. Kispert's a sharpshooter, but like Trae Young, like, are we like, I get it. It's the new thing in sports, whether it's Luka getting trashed when he ran out of town, Michael Parsons, Jerry Jones trashing him when he traded him out of town, all these big stars that are getting traded. All of a sudden, it feels like Luka kind of opened the floodgates, regardless of sports. Hell, we can go to the NFL. John Harbaugh gets fired. Lamar Jackson apparently sleeping in meetings before. It feels like the new thing is that it's like to trash the stars before they're on their way out. But in terms of Trae Young, we kind of heard that about he's lazy, doesn't play defense, not a team player. Like, is everyone forgetting that this guy they call him Ice Trae for a reason. He single-handedly sent the Knicks home in the playoffs. I don't think Atlanta's put the best roster around him to succeed his whole career. And if you're Washington, it's not that I'm a Laker fan, I'm not a Wizards fan, but it is kind of funny how, like, the Wizards have been so bad for so long. The last time the Wizards were relevant was John Wall, and even then they weren't perennially in the championship or in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's like a big market that hasn't been relevant. I'm surprised he went for that little. Like, I'm surprised more teams weren't in. I thought that would be a much bigger package, especially considering he wants to stay in Washington. I know the reporting was that he wanted to go there, so maybe that kind of depressed the price, people saying he'd opt out. But I think if you're the Wizards, like, a rare W for the Washington Wizards, that you got your face of your franchise moving forward.
Yeah, okay. A couple things on this. I think, Trae Young is a perfect example. There's certain types of players, and I do remember him taking out the Knicks single-handedly and bowing to everybody at the Madison Square Garden and saying, thank you for coming to the show. I also think you can't, if Trae Young's your best player on a team, I don't think you're going very far. So maybe you're winning a round. I don't think you're going past that. And it's not specifically Trae Young's fault. I think the way I really look at these players is, does the franchise you're on have a history of winning? The Atlanta Hawks do not. So it's not like the Atlanta Hawks knew what the hell they were doing. It's not like they were putting together the right roster. It's not like they were putting together the right team to go be competitive on a year in, year out basis. So I can't put it all on Trae Young, but I'm not building a franchise with Trae Young as my best player. And if the Washington Wizards are going to do that, that doesn't surprise me at all. And probably the reason why you want to go with the Wizards is because Wizards are going to give him the money that he's looking for, where a lot of other teams I don't think will do that. But you still got nothing for him. Now, I like where Atlanta, Lakers played the Hawks earlier this year, and Atlanta looked a lot better than I thought. Jalen Johnson is a freaking stud. And I think a lot of people didn't know. I think a lot of people didn't really know all that much about him 30 days ago or 60 days ago or whatever the case is. I guess supposedly the conversation is the reason why they're doing the Trae Young deal is because they're trying to position themselves for a deal for Anthony Davis, right? That's what the Atlanta Hawks are trying to do.
Which
can we just pause here for a quick second? Is AD going to get traded?
Again? I think so.
Again? I think so. Like within 1 year of Luka getting traded to the Lakers for Anthony Davis, is that thing going to get blown up? I know Nico Harrison isn't there anymore. I know it's gone. So that obviously it changes everything, but can you just imagine if I told you a year ago today, January 8th, 2025, if I told you that Luka's going to get traded to the Lakers for Anthony Davis, you'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? And then I'm telling you, yeah. And then less than a year later, AD is going to get traded again because it's not working in Dallas.
I guess because AD is still valuable in the sense if he joins a team that already has championship aspirations because he is a great defender. He can score at times. But like the Mavericks are having the same problem the Lakers had is they have this weird, they're like trying to build on the fly with Cooper Flag, but then you have two veteran guys in Kyrie who hasn't played all year because he's hurt.
And they got gifted the whole Cooper Flag thing. I mean, if that doesn't happen, then I got no idea what their history was.
And again, like, are people coming to the team to play with Anthony Davis? That was the Lakers' question before they traded him. The Lakers were about to go into a 5-year slump where they were terrible because I didn't see any star being like, sure, let's go join an injury-prone Anthony Davis in Los Angeles and a guy who's known to has had big moments in the playoffs and has shrunk in the playoffs at times. So it's. The Nico Harrison saved the future of the Lakers. The fact that we're even sitting here, I think we have to be a little bit grateful. The fact that the Lakers are even in contention, even though I don't think that they're in championship contention in a half a year away, summer away from having all these picks at their disposal. It is crazy. Like the parity in the NBA, it just feels like ever since Luka got traded, all these guys got traded, and now it's just the floodgates are open. Like Luka and Trae Young are gone, and then Anthony Davis might be gone again. Giannis might be on his way out. It's just it's kind of open everything for the NBA.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That article that I read this morning on ESPN, what did they have? I know they were talking about Kuminga moving on. Did they have Anthony Davis on that list? I know I've seen AD in other trade chat or trade conversation. I don't think I saw it on this one. So no, it was some other players that were on there, and Milwaukee trying to continue to make trades, not trading away Giannis, but trying to just, getting more and more desperate. I don't think I've seen a franchise get as desperate as them.
Do you think we've seen that change though? Because it's always kind of thought of as like, if you're a small market team, you have a star, you don't trade them. Like that's been the thing about you don't trade Giannis. Like it's not like Milwaukee's getting another Giannis, but at some point they're just going to leave. And the more years that you let go by, the less the trade value is.
Here's what I would have done. And obviously, I'm not a general manager, and I'm not in contention. No team has called me and said, "Al, we want your opinion." But here's what I would have done if I was the Bucks. It's clear Giannis, at some point, is going to leave the Milwaukee Bucks. I think it's just he's left too many. There's too many tea leaves out there that's telling you that, yeah, he's probably going to leave the Bucks. It's also clear that they're not going to compete for a championship. They're just not. Like they got their championship. I mean, if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, it's not that you want to stop after one, but it's just kind of reality, right? Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, a lot of those guys are not there anymore that helped them win a championship. Brook Lopez. Last summer was the time to trade Giannis. It was last summer. Because last summer, and by the way, I'm not stretching Dame's contract. I'm probably not signing Miles Turner. And I'm trading Giannis Antetokounmpo for the most talent that I could possibly get, because that also opens up the door for a lot of teams because they would have had him guaranteed for 2 years.
Right. You could have got everything.
Now you stretch Dame's contract. He's on your books for 5 years. Why are you getting Miles Turner? I'm not saying Miles Turner is not a good player. It just makes no sense for your franchise to have Miles Turner. Obviously they made a trade at some point, whenever that was, for Kyle Kuzma. Again, another trade that doesn't really make all that much sense. And now you're going to walk into, I don't think he's going to get traded by the deadline. I think you're going to walk into this summer and you're going to be in a position where you're still not competing for a championship. You've actually set your franchise back for years. And Giannis is going to go. I mean, he's going to eventually leave. I just don't think it's going to be by the deadline. I think they are so desperate, but it's one thing to be desperate. It's another thing to be desperate and not have a plan. I don't think they have a plan.
I agree with you. I think now there's a whole business side that fans, all of us, don't think about, is that they want to sell tickets and they want to sell jerseys. So I get that part. But it's like, if you want to really rebuild, Giannis should have been gone. You should have traded Giannis and really reset the whole thing.
And I think you could have traded Giannis for another young potential superstar that's going to be the face of your franchise for the next 5-7 years.
Right. But now it's like, I mean, he could still get that. But again, if it's a 1-year deal, you're not going to get that, because people are like, I don't want to just get Giannis so he leaves next year. It feels different. I'm surprised, back to what you said about Trae Young, like he went for so small of a price back. I'm surprised Minnesota wasn't in on him. Apparently there was like rumors. I think that would have been like a great pairing, him and Anthony Edwards. But it feels like Giannis and Trae Young and these guys, I don't know, just the names flying everywhere is kind of crazy to me. It's just, to what you said a year ago, if you would have said all these names are on different teams, you'd have been like, yeah, right. And now it just opened everything up.
I saw something. I mean, this goes to one of the comments here. If AR signs with the Bucks next season, that's how you get Giannis to stay. I saw something. There was, I think, an article out there that was pointing out that there could be a path with Giannis to the Lakers. And some of the reasons were that the Golden State Warriors don't have what you need to go trade for Giannis. The New York Knicks, I think there was a little bit of, if I saw this correctly, there was something with the Knicks about, what was it, Dolan, that was saying that they have enough to compete right now for a championship.
And they don't have a ton of picks because of the Bridges deal.
They don't have a ton of picks. A lot of that could just be chatter. But the idea was that maybe there's less teams that are involved in Giannis than there were before. You get to the summer, Austin Reeves signs a big deal, or, a sign and trade, or whatever the case is. So maybe there's an opportunity. I'm not going to hold my breath for it, but that was some of the additional chatter that we had around Giannis. I don't think it happens, but that's obviously something that continues to be talked about, and it's going to be talked about for a while. All right, next game. By the way, speaking of which, Lakers got the Bucks tomorrow, and Giannis.
Don't hurt him. Don't hurt him.
Don't hurt him. Final question. The record says one thing, 23-12. By the way, it's still pretty damn impressive that they're 23-12.
Yeah.
Record says one thing. Look in between the lines. What does that record mean to you? If this is the squad and they're healthy and they go into the playoffs, I still think the Lakers can be a headache. I really do. And if they went out and made a trade for a guy like Keon Ellis and they didn't give up a lot to go get him, second rounder, Dalton Connect, whatever you want to say, right? However you can make it work. I still think they could be a headache in the playoffs. I just, I think realistically, you're going to have a ceiling and they're going to have their ceiling.
I agree with you. I think anytime, if they're all healthy, Reeves, Luka, and LeBron, that's a headache for a lot of teams. You have to deal with 3 legit star scorers on the roster. We'll see what happens if they get a Keon Ellis, they get a little bit more defense. It's 23-12. Now they've beaten up on a lot of bad teams. I think we know what they are. They beat the bad teams, beat the okay teams, they beat the good teams. They're just not at a level to beat the great teams right now, currently constructed. The one thing that, if we're looking positively, like, their clutch time defense is the best in the NBA, which is crazy to me. They're one of the worst defenses in the NBA. They're like 26th, 27th through the first 3.5 quarters. And they're 13-0 in clutch time games. In the final 5 minutes, they have the best defensive rating in the entire NBA. Now, what that says to me is, are they not trying at the first 3 quarters? Is it a small sample size? Are the numbers a little bit inflated, which is probably true? But there's something in there why at the end of these games, the Lakers are locking up defensively. It's just frustrating why they don't do it in the second quarter or the third quarter and put these games away. So maybe there's something on the roster that can improve them, but I'm with you. I think they're a headache for someone. They could win a round, maybe two, depending on the matchup and injuries, but I don't think they're winning a championship as currently constructed.
Yeah, they got to go. It's got to be like a perfect scenario in the playoffs for them to even, I think, compete in a long series in the second round. Because if that second round is the Houston Rockets or the Denver Nuggets or the Oklahoma City Thunder, or, maybe even the San Antonio Spurs, we'll see how San Antonio kind of ends this season. That portion will be interesting. Sammy, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you for coming on. Always enjoy the chat with you. Sammy's got a preview video coming tonight. Lakers and the Bucks coming up tomorrow, so he'll preview that game. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Sliwa, you're the best. Thank you, everybody.
All right, that is Sammy Long right there. Good work from Sammy. Good work from Sammy. Yeah, I by the way, I think when you're having a conversation with somebody else, I've convinced myself Keon Ellis is the right move for the Lakers. I have convinced myself that if that's the asking price for Keon Ellis and they're able to do that, go jump on that and then take your chances with everything else a little bit later in regards to what the Lakers can do in the summer. It's not going to win you a championship, but that's okay. You got to be thinking big picture in my mind. Shout out to Harris Resort SoCal, harrissocal.com. Go to that website. I'm working on a date to go do a broadcast from there, and I'm targeting March. I was doing it with the members today. We were looking at the Lakers and the Nuggets matchup coming up in March, but we're still working on that. I'll keep you guys posted on it. harrissocal.com. If you're looking for a staycation, like I mentioned before, don't go hop on a flight and go try to go somewhere. This is one of the best resorts in Southern California. They're a proud partner of the channel. It's a great way to support the channel is by supporting our partners, but it's also a great place to go to. It's in North San Diego, Palomar Mountains, beautiful rolling hills. They got over 1,000 luxurious hotel rooms and one of the best restaurants, in my opinion, in all Southern California, Hell's Kitchen, Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen. I've eaten there before. It's phenomenal. So go to the website, harrissocal.com. You could go to that website and start kind of planning your getaway. Really good shows coming up there, comedians, entertainment, everything you're looking for, where you could get everything you want in one spot and you don't have to go pay this crazy price to go get hotel stay, or I'm sorry, to go book a flight and you keep your car at the airport and the headache. Don't do that. Staycation, wherever you are in Southern California, it's probably within an hour to 2 hours of wherever you are on a drive. All right, we got some NBA news that I want to get into, and then we're going to call it a show. We got a busy day today, guys. Busy day. Got a big meeting coming up at 10 a.m., by the way. Big meeting coming up. We're trying to get some additional partners here. Keep you guys posted on that. All right, got some NBA news I'm going to get into. The Trae Young piece, I'm just going to kind of be quick on this one because I know we talked a little bit about it. I talked a little bit about it with Sammy. The Trae Young stuff, to me, again, I'm just surprised how little the Atlanta Hawks got back. The bigger story to me is going to be what happens in regards to Anthony Davis. Is there actually a world where Anthony Davis is traded again within the first year of him getting traded out of LA to the Dallas Mavericks? So that part is going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. Games in the NBA tonight. I think there's only really one good game that I would watch, but Pacers are playing the Hornets. Heat are playing the Bulls. Cavs and the Timberwolves. I like that game. Cavs 21-17, disappointing year for them. Timberwolves playing some good basketball right now. They're 24-13 on the season. Mavericks and the Jazz, and that's your schedule in the NBA. So not that many games in the league tonight. Gives everyone just a little bit of time to chill. And then another Lakers game coming up tomorrow. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Let's take a look at a couple of the comments, and we're going to call it a day. Good luck with your meeting. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Young play, no defense, and he has a huge contract. I think he's talking about Trae Young there. Go get Giannis. I just have no idea what the Bucks are doing. I don't think they do either. I really don't. Braun fan, bench a dude that was leading the league in scoring at one point this season and trade him for $13 million for a 41-year-old that is gone next season. Yeah, listen, Bron fans, I'll tell you this. The man is still balling out. He looks better and better as each game has gone by. And, I think this is, I've said this before and I'll say it again. We'll see what happens with LeBron after this season, but you can't come back with LeBron getting $52 million a year. You just can't. And at some point, they're going to have to fully build around Luka. That part's going to have to happen as well. All right, my people, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you guys hanging out for a full hour. What are you, hour and 10 today? Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'm back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thank you for being a part of the show. Greatly appreciated. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 8.